Right now, somewhere in Germany, a factory that has been running for 60 years is going dark. Not because of a fire, not because of a scandal, because the lights are simply too expensive to keep on. And here is the part that should terrify you. The people who run Europe know exactly what is happening. They are watching it in real time, and they still cannot stop it. I have been studying economic collapses for over 2 decades. I have watched currencies die, industries vanish, empires quietly hollow out from the inside. And what I am watching unfold in Europe right now is the most significant economic transformation since the Second World War. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because the full picture, the real reason this collapse is irreversible, the reveal that changes how you see everything, that comes at the end. If you leave early, you will miss the one thing that explains why this is not just Europe's problem, it is yours too. Let us go back to the beginning. For 50 years, Europe ran on a deal so elegant it looked like genius. Import cheap energy, use that cheap energy to power the most sophisticated factories on the planet, sell what those factories make to the entire world at a premium. That was it. That was the entire playbook. Cheap energy in, expensive goods out. And at the absolute center of this machine was Germany. Not because Germany had oil, not because Germany invented the internet. Germany became the 4th largest economy on Earth because it had access to something nobody else in the industrialized world had. Russian natural gas, delivered directly through pipelines at prices so low that German factories could outcompete almost anyone on the planet. German car plants, German chemical facilities, German steel furnaces, they ran on that gas, and they turned it into precision engineering that the world paid top dollar for. For decades, this worked so perfectly that most Europeans never even thought about it. Energy was just there, cheap, reliable, invisible. Then, February 2022 arrived. Russia invaded Ukraine. Europe responded with sanctions. Russia responded by turning off the pipeline. Almost overnight, the energy supply that powered the entire European economic model was gone. 40% of Europe's natural gas, gone. European leaders scrambled. They found alternatives. They started importing liquefied natural gas, LNG, shipped in tankers from America, from Qatar, from wherever they could find it. And they told the public that the crisis was managed, that resilience had been proven, that the economy would bounce back. But here's what they did not tell you. They did not solve the problem. They relocated it. They traded one dependency for another, and the new dependency was far more fragile.
LNG is not pipeline gas. It has to be frozen to minus 162 degrees, loaded onto specialized ships that cost hundreds of millions of dollars each, transported across oceans, then converted back into gas at terminals that take years to build. Every single step adds cost. Every single step adds risk. And Europe bet its industrial future on this being enough. It was not enough. Right now, as you watch this video, European gas storage sits at approximately 29% capacity. 29%. Last year at this time, it was 35%. The 5-year historical average for this point in the season is between 40 and 50%. Europe is heading into the critical summer refill season at its lowest energy reserves since the crisis of 2022. And if Europe cannot refill storage to at least 80% before winter arrives, the continent faces energy rationing on a scale not seen since the 1940s. And then came the war. Conflict in the Middle East disrupted Qatar's LNG production. Strikes on the Ras Laffan facility in early 2026 cut Qatari LNG output by an estimated 17%. Qatar was supposed to be Europe's rescue plan after Russia. That rescue plan just shrank significantly. Global LNG prices in Asia surged over 140%. Asian buyers are outbidding European buyers for every available cargo. European industry is watching energy it desperately needs sail past it toward higher-paying customers on the other side of the world. Now let us talk about Germany specifically, because the numbers from Germany should stop you cold. Industrial production in Germany has been falling consistently. December 2025, down 1%. January 2026, down another 0.5%. Year over year, German output contracted 1.2%. And these numbers are from before the latest disruption even began. Energy-intensive industries, the sectors that built Germany's reputation, fell 4.3% year over year. Metal fabrication down over 12% in a single month. Pharmaceuticals down nearly 12%. Electronics and computing down almost 7%. Germany's economy contracted in 2023, contracted again in 2024, back-to-back annual declines for the first time in a generation. The German Chamber of Commerce has described the rate of business bankruptcies as, quote, alarming. The Federal Employment Agency has warned that even highly skilled workers are no longer protected from job losses. And the new German chancellor stood up publicly and admitted that shutting down Germany's nuclear power plants was, in his own words, a severe strategic mistake. Admitting a mistake is not the same as fixing one.
Here is what I promised you at the beginning. Here is the part nobody in official Europe wants you to fully understand. This is not a crisis. A crisis implies something temporary, something you survive and recover from. What is happening to Europe right now is a structural collapse. And the difference between a crisis and a structural collapse is this. A crisis ends. A structural collapse transforms everything permanently. In the 1970s, when oil shocks devastated the global economy, Europe suffered, but Europe recovered. Because the oil was still there, the infrastructure was still there. The political decision to restrict supply was eventually reversed. Cheap energy came back. And when cheap energy came back, the European economic model worked again. That return is not coming this time. Russia is not coming back as Europe's energy supplier. That relationship is destroyed, possibly for a generation. LNG from Qatar, from America, from anywhere will always cost more than a pipeline running directly into your factory. And the war in the Middle East has exposed just how fragile the entire global LNG market really is. The European Central Bank president, the most powerful economic voice in the continent, has said publicly that expectations of rapid normalization, even after a ceasefire, are overly optimistic. She admitted directly that monetary policy cannot reduce energy prices. The central bank cannot print cheap gas into existence. So, here is what actually happens next, and this is the part that affects you even if you have never set foot in Europe. Europe's most energy-intensive industries are starting to leave. Chemical plants, steel mills, aluminum smelters. They are moving to America, where energy is abundant and cheap. They are moving to the Middle East, where energy is domestically produced. They are moving to Asia, where costs are lower. Industry leaders across the continent have told EU governments directly if electricity prices remain elevated relative to global competitors, investment shifts elsewhere and capacity is lost permanently. That is not a warning. That is a description of decisions already being made in boardrooms right now. And when those industries leave, the communities built around them lose their purpose. The tax base that funds hospitals and schools and roads shrinks. The specialized skills that took 3 generations to develop leave with the companies that use them. And industrial capacity, once lost, does not return in years. It takes decades to rebuild what is destroyed in a short window of time. Here's the deeper truth. Europe is not just losing factories. Europe is losing its economic identity it has held for half a century. The world where European manufacturing meant quality, precision, and global leadership, that world is ending, quietly, without a single dramatic headline, while everyone watches missiles and press conferences and diplomatic summits. The Nordics are better positioned. Their hydropower gives them an advantage. France's nuclear fleet offers options most European nations do not have. Spain has strong solar resources and some buffer. But the industrial core of Europe, Germany above all, is facing a transformation so fundamental that the continent will look unrecognizable within a generation. Now, here's the question you should be sitting with right now. Every economy on Earth has a hidden assumption underneath it, a foundation so old and reliable that nobody thinks to question it. For Europe, that assumption was cheap energy. For 50 years, it was just there. What is the hidden assumption underneath your economy, underneath your industry, underneath your country's model for prosperity? Because the lesson of what is happening to Europe is not about gas pipelines and LNG terminals. The lesson is this: when a foundation you never thought to question suddenly disappears, the collapse comes faster than anyone was prepared for. Europe was not prepared. The question is whether you will be. Subscribe now for more analysis of this evolving situation, and tell me in the comments, if you are watching from Europe, what are you seeing on the ground right now? And if you are outside Europe, how do you think this reshapes the global economy over the next decade? I'll see you in the next one.